It looks as if Tencent is looking to buy Ubisoft. Basically, we've talked about this in other episodes. Ubisoft is not only in a bunch of trouble when it comes to their overall culture, I would say, in their studios. It looks like, especially this year, they're having problems with sales and their brands, essentially. So, I guess, Zero, what do you think about Tencent looking to purchase Ubisoft? I guess from Yves Guillemot and getting controlling stakes on Ubisoft.
Anything, I potentially see this as a golden parachute option for Yves Guillemot, mostly
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that just um, there's a bit of a history lesson with Ubisoft. So, um, Ubisoft, Gameloft, and one other company, they were all GMO family-owned companies, and Vivendi had been on this like wild acquisition tear to basically just tear the empire apart, and they managed to get one of the other companies in this little like trinity, and then Gameloft was the next to fall.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much Ubisoft was the last holdout, and pretty much when there was talk of Vivendi after the sale of Activision were looking to acquire Ubisoft, Ubisoft did this humongous fundraising drive of basically saying, "Hey, we want to be free. We want to be able to do our own thing. We don't want to be controlled by Vivendi. Please do, if you have any heart, please save us from Vivendi because they've ruined one of our family's past enterprises," referring to Gameloft at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and and it was basically just sort of a sympathetic plea for investors, and naturally they got out of it and got to have the autonomy of being their own company, but with the more recent years that have gone through, the number of members of the GMO family that have been working for Ubisoft have started to dwindle and dwindle further and further away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this rate, CEO Yves GMO is literally the last person of the GMO family that owns Ubisoft,
Mm-hmm.
because his son Charlie, I think last year, ended up having to step down due to some sexual harassment claims, though Charlie has gone on to found a crypto company, which that's got its own issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the way I see it is this is potentially a golden parachute option for Yves GMO. He can basically just sell his shares off to Tencent because I believe he's got the controlling interest at this time. So he could just sell his off and just wash his hands of the company and then just kind of do sort of a ivory tower style tour around the world and talk to gaming publication articles of and stuff and just kind of wax romantic about just the good old days of when he was at Ubisoft and everything, and just kind of quietly retire with minimal grief and everything. And then if sexual harassment claims come out about the staff that have decided to remain at Ubisoft, he can just kind of wax romantic and go, "Wow, that wasn't what happened when I was at Ubisoft." So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Ubisoft has had so many issues in the past 5 years. Starting, we'll start with the culture, the sexual harassment issues, and the boys' club mentality they had throughout their time in the past 5 years, and then that trickled down to the creative process in a lot of their games, where a lot of people started noticing that a lot of their games felt the same, whether you played Far Cry or Assassin's Creed or even The Crew 2, which I thought was hilarious when I heard about that. Yeah, like Ubisoft is in a bit of trouble right now. Like they just for the past year. I mean, the last game I remember them releasing wasn't Far Cry 6, and that kind of disappointed. I think it ended up making its sales back in its what do you call it in its budget, but I don't think it made big sales that they were expecting. So
Yeah, that and I think it was a bit underwhelming too,
yeah,
critically.
right. So yeah, you're looking at a studio that essentially, I think it's fair to say this, that is creatively bankrupt, and they have games now that, I mean, they just canceled a bunch of games recently. They have two games have been that are constantly delayed. That is Beyond Good and Evil 2, and of all things, the Prince of Persia remake, the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake, which, yeah, I was looking forward to until all this, all these delays started happening. I'm like, wait a minute, you're just remaking the game. What could be so intensive? Like, okay, but yeah, like you're right. They might just be looking. Guillermo might be just looking to get out from under the mess that is Ubisoft right now, and just get himself away so someone else can deal with the mess. Now, if that's the case, and Ubisoft is in complete disarray, wouldn't that venture to say that the person who, or people who decide to purchase it, are probably going to pretty much strip it of its licenses to a certain extent? But
Yeah.
even thinking about that, except for maybe Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, what licenses do they have that will be that attractive to somebody to, let's say, purchase Ubisoft for billions of dollars and then take the licenses and hope to make better games out of it from other studios? Like, I have a hard time seeing that too. So even with Ubisoft, like, looking to get bought out supposedly, and Tencent supposedly trying to do that, I'm not sure what Tencent really wants. I mean, do they want to just build the studios back up to what they were, and to have a more creative process to make better games? Because that really isn't Tencent's MO. Tencent's MO is basically monetize, monetize, monetize until we can't get enough money anymore, and then shut down. That's their MO. So
Yeah.
I don't see, specifically, like, if Tencent buys them, I would, unless they get them pretty cheaply, I don't see this being a good thing for Ubisoft or people who work at Ubisoft. I think you're going to see massive layoffs, and you're going to see a stripping of the brands, and then suddenly you'll see Far Cry on mobile in the next couple of years, is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could easily see Tencent monetizing Assassin's Creed into a mobile game easily. Just
Mhm.
I could see something like, hey, let's do kind of like what we did when we localized PUBG, just turn into Assassin's Creed the Battle Royale game.
Yeah. I mean, but they're doing a free to play Assassin's Creed right now. I mean, they're going to announce it, I think, next month, which is September, in a
Yeah,
live stream that it's called Assassin's Creed Infinity. I think it's what it's called, and that's going to be free to play. That could be a mobile game too. But I just have a, I guess I'm not seeing exactly why a company would spend billions of dollars on Ubisoft when they are essentially a distressed asset, where you could possibly get them, unless you're getting them cheaper than you think. Then I don't see a big payoff for Guillermo. I essentially see this being a yeah. I think if he wants to get out bad enough, he might take a cheap, like, make a discounted sell off to get rid of the company, unless, of course, the board says otherwise. But yeah, I don't know. Like, should they probably sell? Yes, but I don't see one, Tencent really being the one that could do a lot with it, or two, if Tencent does it, it being a good thing for the company itself. I would honestly see Ubisoft pretty much turning into a farming house of its IPs, and that's it. I don't see them. I don't see Tencent saying, "Okay, here's another $1 billion. Go ahead and start making games. You guys are set for the next 5 years." No, I see them basically saying, "Okay, you're shut down. You're shut down. You're shut down. You're shut down," and you three that are still here, start making mobile Assassin's Creed and Rayman games.
I think I may have worded just use GMO trying to sell off things in an inarticulate way, but yeah, just
Yeah.
I would say the idea of selling it for a discount is probably a little bit more closer to aligning to what I was thinking. Just
Okay.
he might just go, I don't want to deal with this controversy anymore. I hate just seeing my name being slapped on pretty much every single controversial article on just why we at Ubisoft have a sexual harassment culture, a bad nepotism problem. Just fuck this, I want out, and
Yeah.
just selling for a real quick discount and just going, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
He pulled a notch. Essentially, he's gonna pull a notch. Essentially, say I'm sick and fucking tired of this. Someone buy me, and they're hoping for a Microsoft kind of sweetheart deal where he gets billions of dollars.
The interesting thing to see will be just how this all shakes down.